Hey class, we are going to talk more about loops. So some of you were saying that while loop is less intuitive, which is completely true. Harder is the do while loop you also seen last time. I thought I would give you one more example because in this coming assignment you would need to do this. I hope by showing you here there will be no problem in your coming assignment to finish this task. In this demo, we are going to ask the user, hey, do you want to repeat what we just did? So let's run this program. It said, do you want to loop again? And then I will just say yes or no. Yes by typing in Y. And then you can see from the code that the program accepts both capital Y or lowercase y. And so I will try, test both cases anyways, and then I would say basically any character will go to we'll end the do while loop and then go to continue with the program. So as you see, the Boolean expression is here to decide if the loop will continue. For do while loop, like I said before, it will execute the code, this block of code once, and then it will test the condition, and then it depends on the Boolean expression. If it's evaluated as true, it will repeat. If not, it will then end the block. We will go to PowerPoint to see the next loop that we want to talk about is for loop. For loop is actually easier because it will start somewhere I equals to 0, end somewhere which when I is smaller than 10, and then how the count will be updated is here. So if you look at this piece of code, what it does is it counts from 0 to 9, because by 10 this will be false and it won't be executed on this block of code. So let's do a demo to see how we can play with it. So you can see here I actually put the declaration inside. It actually will run exactly the same. It will still print out from 0 to 9. So now I want to design a piece of code to print out from 9 to 0. So how would I do this? Let me restart kind of. I can actually even using I again, but like you already know, if I don't declare a new integer, it won't work, because this I is only effective. It's a local variable in this block. So let's use another integer. Honestly, why not make it clearer? So where do we start? We start because we want to count from 9 to 0, right? So we start from 9, semicolon, and then it's j, right? So when j is bigger than or equals to 0, we can do it that way. That's when we want the program to end, or we can do j is larger than -1. Both works, but for me I would like it this way because it just looks easier to read. And then what should j do? J is decreasing, so we use the minus decrement operator. And then I usually like to close the curly bracket before I move on to write any code, because I don't want myself to forget that I didn't close it. But of course, if you're using IDE, you probably don't have that problem. So I will just do a cout j have a space in between, and then I want to have a return at the end. So let's see if it will print out from 9 to 0. So as you see, it works this way. So I want to also take this opportunity to kind of play with the minus the decrement operator, so that you can see, you know, how it works. What do you think if we do the prefix decrement operator? What would this program does? Would it behave differently? I will tell you the answer is no, because when this is executed, it doesn't really affect the before or after it, because this is executed first and then the J is printed out, so that really has no effect. However, what if I do it here instead? I will tell you that I can tell you that right now, or you can think about it actually. So now J is 9. This line is executed, so it go into the block, and so it will print out the J first before it decrement it by 1, and so the program will actually act exactly the same. You see 9 8 7 6 9 first. It actually do complain though. It has no effect. Well, it's a warning, so we can ignore it for now, because usually we don't do it this way. However, if I put the decrement in front of J, what will happen? So think about it. It will execute this, J equals to 9, and then it will decrement it by 1 before it print out J. So what will happen is it will print out 8 to -1. See how this works. So that's why I always recommend that you experiment with the code, because this is really how you make the concept really clear to yourself. So let's go back to the slides. I think there may be one more thing. I want to see what if I put the integer outside. Let's see. So what if I put the integer, the int outside? I can actually declare this outside if I want to. And then it became available for both. So sometimes if we really need to save memory, for example, then I can say int1, int I, and then I reuse that I in here. Basically, that's kind of what I want to show. So a little bit, you know, some ID I can actually change it all at once, but just so you know, you can actually do it this way. So next is the nested loops. Basically, we can have loops inside loops. So last time you did have if else within the while loop, right? So feel free to, things can be mixed and do it together, because otherwise we won't have thousands lines of code or hundreds thousand lines of code if things cannot be mixed and used. So loop inside loop. One very common one actually is we have for loop inside for loop, which is very common. I want to show you this so that you can see it. However, I think we need to have the int back, otherwise it will be very messy, and then we will have the J back, so that is easier to see. Like I said, always try to write code that's easily understandable. So what happened? Because it became a infinite loop. So be careful, don't make that mistake, otherwise your program will just continue running. What happened is this should be a minus minus. So let's run it again. Well, maybe let's think about what will happen first, right? So it will print out, first time it loop, it will print out a 0, because this line I is equals to 0. Then it go into the loop of j. So this will print out 9 to 0, and then it will have a end of line, and then it will go back and then print out 1, and then it will print out from 9 to 0, and then end of line. So let's see if that's what will happen. I think it's malfunctioning, so because of previous problem. Interesting. Let's see what we can do. Okay, this is what we'll do. We'll copy, go to somewhere else, paste, run it. So now you can see that's what we expected. It will print out the I first, and then all the J's, and the second I, all the J's again. So this is called nested loop. You will have practice, I'm sure, so that you can master this idea. How do you design loop? I basically demonstrate that when we were doing the second while loop. So first of all, you would decide what you want to do over and over again. In that example, we try to print the value of I. How to do 1? So you usually do it, if for a more complicated program, of course, that you try to do it one time first, make sure that it works, and then you enclose it within a loop. How do you decide for loop or while loop? I'm sure you would pick for loop if you could, and so if not, then pick while loop. When should it start? It always starts with a certain condition and ends with a certain condition. So in a for loop, it's easier. Usually start with a number of 0, for example, in our example, and it ends at a number 9. And so when we look at the code, we would see, this is this beginning condition, ending condition, and how it got updated. So it's clearer in for loop. In while loop, it's a little bit less straightforward, like we see here. But still, you put this Boolean expression here. So basically, if you examine it really logically, have a clearer mind, basically, don't think about what is for dinner, or I want potato chips, then I think you'll be fine. So the concepts that we've covered, while loop, or actually is do while loop, we have covered the increment, decrement operators, for loop, nested loops, and how to design loops. We will go to the next session, which is how to debug